The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style. From the highs to the lows, every story just explodes. Mike's got questions on the go, diving deep from head to toe. Every week the guests align, sharing moments so divine. Stay with us, the pace is fine. Every episode you'll find. The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style.
Hello and welcome to the Big H Podcast. My name is Mike Hayes, and joining me today to talk about the Sectional Boys basketball tournament is, well, I'm going to say former coach Troy Prince, but you're always a coach.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Just to lead us off with some personal information, since your retirement from coaching basketball last year, how have you stayed connected to the sport?
Oh, geez. I've done some work in Greece where I have been working the shot clock or clock operator at Odyssey, Athena, Olympia, or working the event staff, or just going out and watching some games. And, that's kind of kept me in the game a little bit, so to speak.
I was watching the Hilton Boys play Fairport on Friday through Huddle or Varsity Media, and I did catch a glimpse of you there in the stands. Not a bad game for the Cadets. They were kind of in it at halftime and kind of played through it in the third, and unfortunately the ending was what it was. What do you do for your day job? I think you're a PE teacher?
Yeah, elementary PE teacher at English Village Elementary in Greece. And I'm still coaching tennis in Greece, I do the boys Greece Lightning team, and I'm the program assistant for the girls Greece Storm team in the fall. So still doing a little bit of that, but, basketball's still where my heart lies.
And do your coaches that you coached against and are still in the teams right now, do you guys stay in touch?
Yeah, the one I probably still stay most connected with is Jimmy Johnson. We probably talk once a week, and we play some cards together. But by doing the score clock and shot clock, I've been able to run into a ton of coaches. And I'm going to go out and watch Fairport practice this week, and I'll get a text from different guys, just checking in, seeing how guys are going, or I'll send something about a good win, or looks like a great season so far. And so we've got a good network of guys that stay in touch.
I mean, not to promote too many podcasts, but I think Jim Johnson has his own podcast now.
He does, and
have you been a guest yet?
I have not. He does a lot of things on leadership, it's really become a life passion of his, and he gets a lot of enjoyment out of still helping others. So, but no, he's not asked me, but he has sent me different podcasts to listen to that have been very good.
Yeah, I used to love watching him coach in our holiday tournament. He really knows his X's and O's, gets the most out of his talent, and of course, bringing the J-Mac story to light.
Yeah,
it was a lot of his doing.
A lot of the anniversary was last week, and I actually went 2 weeks ago because I read my text wrong and showed up at Athena to watch the game. And I'm like, what's going on? But I had the wrong night. I was a week early, and then I was working a game in Greece, so I missed it. But I know it was a good night for them.
When you went a couple of weeks ago, when it wasn't the night, was Coach Johnson there?
He was.
Okay.
Yeah, I sat next to him. It was against UPrep and saw Athena give it to him pretty good. I was pretty impressed because they hadn't been that strong earlier in the season, so it was impressive.
Yeah, doing a little bit of research, I did find out that in Class AA2, Greece Athena is the defending champion, but we'll move on to that in a little bit. Was it a hard transition for you this year, going from the sidelines to a spectator, or tell me a little bit of the highs and lows?
Yeah. You've done something for, I was at Hilton for 21, Penfield for 1, JV coach at Olympia for 2, at Athena as a freshman coach, a varsity assistant. So, and then at Hilton, I was Rich Lapani's assistant on the JVs for 5 or 6 years. So, like 30 years of my Thanksgivings and Christmas breaks and February breaks. So it was some uncharted waters for me, and the we've had some family things where I was needed at home, so the timing was right. But yeah, it's been enjoyable in some ways, and searching for what am I supposed to be now. Um, but by staying around the game, I still feel things. I miss coaching the game.
Correct.
The making decisions. Um, but if I'm being honest, the because basketball is become we're our AAU program, we're our own camps. Where no knock to other sports, but they might do some workouts. We are everything in the off season, and to get a summer, I'm looking forward to doing some things that we want to do. Not have to hustle somewhere and be on as much of a schedule. And there's some pressure, so that has been a big relief of not having that. But yet, there's certain things that you miss, and I miss the relationships and seeing people, because right now everything is hunky dory,
Mm-hmm.
But there are times when maybe a parent wasn't real happy with the perception of how I was treating their son, and you weren't looking forward to seeing them, or they weren't looking forward to seeing me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was slightly awkward. So, and I don't miss that at all. Now everything is great, and I but I knew the time was right for me to go, and I don't regret it for a second.
Yeah, and basketball is one of those tough sports. It's indoors. The fans are right on top of you, not like soccer or football, where you got some distance, legitimately distance. But there was some good recognition this fall and Christmas time with guys that you played with and a guy that played for you. Jeff Sorensen, who played with you and graduated with you, was inducted to the Alumni Hall of Fame, and then Tajay Hill was inducted into the Athletic Hall of Fame. Talk about those two guys for a second.
Yeah, I mean Jeff was my buddy since, oh geez, I think we were exchanging sandwiches at first grade or something.
This is before the food program
Yeah.
hit the schools.
Yeah, I think I brought peanut butter and jelly, and he brought bologna, and we exchanged those, and we ended up rooming together in college, and became just he's the greatest. He is a super successful guy who's a character, um, but he's also one of the most unselfish people, along with his wife, that I've ever come across. To have the amount of success that he has had in his career, and he has wonderful children, and he takes care of people, and he is just, I can't say enough good things about him. So it was really nice to see him be inducted. I think he should go into the Oswego Soccer Hall of Fame. He was tremendous there, and then getting to see not just Tajay but John Letta went in as well. John was a point guard for us, and definitely a better football player statistically. But I thought it was really special that John asked me to introduce him as well as Taj. It tells you the relationships that I have with guys, and to see former players be able to go in, and it's going to be tough in the next few years, because we're gonna be inundated with wrestlers, and well-deserved wrestlers that should go in, and other terrific athletes. But to get two guys that went in that were also special football players, to go in, meant a lot. It means that we've had an impact, and I think that that's one of the things that I feel really good about is we get a chance to. I've stayed connected to my players, and I had one yesterday at the barber shop that I tried hooking up with another great Hilton alumni, Jerry Pickett. I'm trying to have Jerry help this kid get a summer internship, and that's what my whole goal was, is to help kids in any way, shape, or form, and the kid was super grateful. So yeah, it was a special fall and winter for sure to see those people get inducted.
And I do believe, I haven't scheduled yet, but Jeff Sorensen will join us on the Big H podcast later, and that should be coming probably around Easter time. But yes, great individuals, not only from Jeff, but also players from you with Tajay and John Letta. Tell me a little bit about your experience coaching in sectional basketball play.
It's just a different level of intensity, and we have many times been the hunter and trying to knock somebody off, which I would say, I think it was my third year. I think it was my third year where we went to the finals, and we were close to under 500 going into sectionals.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we upset Spencerport and then played Franklin in the semis. And Brett Clark carried us with an amazing performance, both defensively and offensively. So sectionals, you just feel it's a wide open new season, and you got to try to find that happy medium between getting your guys to understand that you got to do the things that we've done to be successful. We try to instill a lot of confidence, yet in intensity. And I think I learned that early on, that one of my guys gave me feedback. I think it was Mike Fowler that said afterwards, like, you really ramped it up in practice. And I feel like maybe we could have backed it off with the physical piece, not the intensity of, because you want practice to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
But he felt like the conditioning might have overwhelmed us. So it's finding that, and it was great feedback, finding that happy medium to ramping up the intensity, and also trying to dial back some conditioning, and also mentally make the kids feel like, yeah, it's something new, but you got to be confident still. And so sectionals is can be a magical time where you go on a run like we did, or in 2019, I think it was, we were the number one seed and got upset by UPrep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if I'd call it an upset, because they're loaded,
Yeah.
and played like a national schedule, and they were an 8 or a 9 seed and went on to win it. And Melvin Council is starring for Kansas today, so I'm not sure I would call it an upset, but it's deflating for sure when you earn that number one seed. So you can go from one extreme to the other, and but that's what makes the postseason in any sport fun, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like, you go to 0-0, everyone's 0-0 again. How do you handle a game where, let's say, you are the favored team, but maybe moving into that late third, fourth quarter, the score's tight, and you don't want your team to be tight, but like, it comes down to possession to possession? What do you do as a coach?
Yeah, you hope, and I know I've been guilty of doing it the wrong way, but you hope that you can bring even some levity to that situation, or reminders. And I know that I have said where we've had a lead, and here we are wondering what's going on. We've turned it over 3-4 times, and you remind the guys, who's winning?
Mm-hmm.
A simple statement like that, and you kind of smile and you look at each kid that is sitting on the bench, and you remind them, we're winning, we're okay. and just to bring some calmness, get their mind off the pressure, do what we've practiced, and don't overthink it. So I think that that's a big piece to getting guys in the right frame of mind. And also, your assistants can kind of go get kids individually and remind them. And I tell them, look, don't don't forget to tell them that they're the man. And some of them we never had to remind, and some of them you had to build their confidence. And to get them to want to make a play, go make a play. And if you don't put the ball in the basket, you can still make a play. That's what's great about this game. And so what infuriates me about golf, because I can't hustle, and that's why I'm incredibly below average. But in basketball, you can impact it in a variety of ways. And we get our guys to remember, hey, if you don't put it in the basket, you still can help us either on the defensive end or take a charge. And I think that reminding them of that in the postseason, I'm not sure, Mike, that I'm the greatest example of postseason success, but because we never won it, and that is something that irks me a little bit in my career, that we weren't able to win the big one. But I think we have had some sectional. I think we made it to the semis 4 times, and into the finals once. And so I think we've been pretty competitive in the postseason too. So, but it's every season. I think you have to gauge your team and read them, and what do they need. And I think that's the whole fun part of coaching.
You may say that you didn't win the big one, so you might be the wrong person to ask. I might disagree with that a little bit, Troy. And there are some schools that are perennial powers. And Rich Lapani, when he speaks at football banquets, and I'm lucky enough to go to them, the first thing he starts off with is high school success is 90% talent, is what he says. And just some schools get gifted with more athletes. And, right now it's Penfield, and, they're loaded and things like that. So I see where you're coming from, but I don't want you to be too rough on yourself. Now, you also talked about, I do want to share my screen and see if we can go into a little bit of the Hilton roster and have you these kids,
Yeah,
from being in your program and also coaching them up to date from last year. And let's see here. And there we go. You could talk about them in general or go down each one, but typically they start Matt Kasoric, Cooper Streb, Shane Thompson, Cal Wheelahan, and who's that fifth one? Tyler Rieger. So those are normally their starting fives, but it seems Coach Esposito, he's not afraid to put lots of players in.
Yeah, I think in the beginning of the year, they were struggling, and he was trying to find somebody or many people to kind of start taking care of the ball a little bit better, make some better decisions, make some kind of positive contribution, and that everybody kind of was in that same boat. So why not go and give somebody else a chance and somebody else a chance, because there wasn't a great separation. And I think towards the middle of the season, this group that you just mentioned has separated themselves a little bit, but definitely guys are coming in. And I stayed away to make that transition a little easier, yet dying to watch them. And especially the seniors who all played for me last year, wanted them to see success, but also all these kids I've had in camp since forever and care about them a lot. So I was able to see the last few games, and you mentioned the Fairport game where, we're taking care of the ball better. And I think it starts there, although I do believe that was still kind of what bit them against Fairport. It was like every 5th possession or so we got loose with it. And not only do you turn it over, but it turned into a fast break layup. And your offense can't be the other team's offense. And they lost by, I think it was 14. And I guarantee if you look at turnovers and conversions right into layups, it was over 14. So I think that these guys are starting to put some things together. I think that they're all turning the ball over less. And I think, I'm watching Shane start to be stronger with the ball inside. He's rebounded his tail off. I've been really impressed with his rebounding, and like to see him start, converting a little bit more. And sometimes he brings the ball down a little bit, but I've definitely seen some growth there, and I think he's a big piece. Matt Kasorik, I think his confidence was rattled a little bit early, and I'm starting to see him shoot the ball with more confidence and take the ball to the basket a little stronger. Although I did see him go to the basket and his finger ends up being completely perpendicular. And the ref was like, Matt just stopped and was carrying the football or the basketball like a football, and he just traveled and stopped because his finger was sideways, and the ref was like, he should have called the travel, but he should have called a foul as to why his finger was. So I think he just gave it to us. But Matt is a guy that can make some, physical contributions and knock down the three. Cooper is, a tremendous charge taker, and when he's open, he can knock down a three. And I think I've seen an improved attitude out of him, because I think he was frustrated coming in as to why he was coming out, and and that happens to a lot of kids where, don't worry about why you're coming out. You just play. And we also, in the heat of a moment, don't have time to give a dissertation as to why every kid's coming in and out, and just play. And I think he's done a much better job of that. I saw he took 2 or 3 charges against Fairport. And when he scores the ball, you can tell that Coop's going to have a good game if he makes a shot early. And I think Tyler Rieger, I just absolutely love watching him play. The motor is incredible. He's unbelievably fit, and gets knocked around, and that kid never says a word. He never shows emotion, like the other kids getting the best of him. I mean, he's a lacrosse kid first, a tremendous football kid. Basketball is his third sport. I'm not sure where in the likes of it is. It might still be third, but just an athlete that is, you can't keep him off the court. He just makes plays, and I think he's done a better job of making a play and then understanding what his skill set is, and not trying to do too much after that play. And he's starting to finish, going to the basket, making some runners. And when it's your third sport, it takes a while for that rust to come off. And, you're usually starting at a deficit in the beginning of that next season. And then somehow his level raises above. It just takes a while when you don't play. And I think he's been a huge contributor. I think Hilton is very, very dangerous, Mike.
Agreed.
I think that, they're avoiding Penfield. If they can get through, these couple rounds, to not have to face them. Because I think, I'll say it now, I don't think they're going to lose. I just think they're too good and too talented. But I think that Hilton could make one of these sneaky runs and you have to get lucky.
Mm-hmm.
It is, like Coach Lapani said, it's talent, but you also have to have some luck. And we've had some teams on the ropes, from Mendon and Victor, and I think they played Irondequoit Tough, who they would potentially face if they can get by Padilla. I think I wouldn't want to play Hilton. I really wouldn't. And they don't petrify you, with any individual player, but somehow they hang around because, he is my buddy, but I know what he has done, and Coach Espo prepares the heck out of him. I mean, his wife jokingly said the other night, like, he watches more film. I don't like how you can't watch anymore, but that's how he is able to take some things away from the other team, and his team has defended pretty well. It's been their offense that has been the struggle.
One of the starters I want you to talk about a little bit is Cal Wheelahan, big 3-point shooter, and then the bench. Because the bench, like you said, in the beginning, he was trying to find out which guys can add minutes. And in various games that I've seen Jackson Oliveri make good shots. I've seen Esposito make some big buckets. Jack Smith goes in and just like runs through people and things like that. So talk a little bit about Wheelahan and then the bench.
Sure. So Cal is arguably the most important guy, and he's got a different role than he had for me, where Coach moved him over to the point, and it's been a good move because he still gets shots off, and I think one of the things that I've seen with Cal is he's hunting a shot, but he's been a little bit more selective. Early on in the year, he had a couple of games where he knocked 4 or 5 down or even more, but it was like a hot potato. He was getting rid of it so quickly, probably before they turned it over. And I think he has just been a little bit more selective with how quickly he's letting it go. And I've also seen him start to shoot the pull-up a little bit more. And he's handled the ball a lot more solidly. He's strong. Cal's better than what he believes he is. He's got a skill set and a frame. He's worked hard with Coach Hurleman and at HD Performance. Cal just needs to believe it. And I think there are times when he does, and he is not afraid to let it go. But I think the part that he's got to believe in more is his ability to hit pull-ups and get to the basket. So I think he's a huge, huge part of it. And then I see like Jackson Oliveri is pretty good at pulling up off the dribble as well. He elevates. He had a tremendous block. He's had quite a few tremendous chase down blocks.
I'll stop you for a second. Did you see the game where we got a tee in warm-ups for Duncan?
No.
It was Jackson Oliveri, apparently.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me.
Go ahead.
He's a gifted athlete. And he's done a solid job. He's a good defender, and he can shoot the ball. He's certainly important. And then Coach has mixed in different guys that have had moments, from Jacob Wynn to Brady Graves hitting some shots. And actually a guy and Lucas Smith is all over the place, and saw his mom and brother yesterday, and, talked a little bit about, and this is the hard part. Like, I don't want to overstep my bounds, as I'm not their coach. But I do know what Coach Espo is looking for. And if I see somebody, I may engage in that conversation if they're asking. But I'm not, like I said, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. And Lucas, I think, is a guy that can help if he shoots the ball when he's open, hustles to rebound, and then doesn't try to do too much. Like, less is more. So I think he can do a good job if he figures that out. And the guy that really is knocking my socks off right now is Nate McConnell.
Agreed.
Nate's knocked down some threes. He's converted inside a little bit. I've been really happy for him. And then the young guy, you got to ride the wave of Jaden Hibbert. I just know how talented he is. He's got to figure out, I know we had concerns about, does he get it defensively? That hasn't jumped out at me. It's been trying to do too much in small spaces, ball handling wise, because he can catch it and shoot it. He can get to the basket, and he's had some games where things have gone pretty awesome, and some other games where it's been in and out. And those are the types of guys that come in the sectionals, and sometimes the freshman season's over, and now you're almost a sophomore. you could see some big things out of them that really of a Jaden that could really make a difference in this sectional run.
Yeah, last couple comments I want to make with the roster, and then I'm going to ask you a quick question. Players like Landon Barton, he's injured right now, so hopefully he can make it back to the pitcher's mound. Alec Frazier and Brady Graves, and another guy I'm going to not forget to mention is Calvin Starwald. He's a crowd favorite. You listen to the games, you go to the games. It's we want Calvin, we want Calvin. You got that 215-pound linebacker out there, but he's just great for team camaraderie and
sure is. And I think Alec has some opportunity too because he can shoot it. He's athletic. I think those three guys that you just mentioned, it's going to come down to if they get their opportunity, can they do it with confidence? And sometimes seniors have that. They can put all things aside and go out and just let her rip. And I think Alec could be a guy that really helps him that way.
Good. And what I'm going to do now is I want to share the screen, and it's going to be Hilton's schedule. And I want you to explain how sectional points are divvied up and how they end up figuring the sectional brackets. So let me see if I can get it here and then hand it over to you. Okay, so that's Hilton's schedule, and as you can see down here at the bottom, they ended up 6-14, but they were still I believe, a 6 seed, correct?
7
seed. So explain how the schedule goes and how seeding points are divvied up.
Yeah, so if you play a team in your sectional bracket or above, in basketball, every sport is different, but and I'm not going to nail this for sure, but I have a really good understanding. I just might not know the points, but you see the points against Churchville is a -5, and I think Churchville is in. Are they AA1 too?
They're a double A, so I think it's triple A, double A, and then so on and so forth.
So if you win or lose in your bracket, it is a plus or minus 5 points. And then, so for Hilton, which they're in Division I, and people get these things confused. I don't understand the difference, Division I and AAA. And so Division I, 2, 3, and 4 are our league. And then our league is based on enrollment. And then sectionals is also based on enrollment, but AAA is Rush, McQuaid, Fairport, and I think UPrep. And last year or the year before, like Edison or somebody was up, or Padilla was up when they were Franklin. But this year it's 4. Those teams would be a plus or minus 6.
Correct.
Or actually, I think if you lose to them, it's -4.
You are correct, and I do have it up on the screen because Hilton did defeat Rush Henrietta twice, so they would get +6.
+6, and if they lost, they would get, like, if you go down to Fairport, let's say, -4. Yep. So when you lose to a team in that AAA bracket, you don't lose quite as many points. So what you do is you accumulate your points, and Hilton, I think, ended up with -36, and you divide it by the number of games, and you get a points per game kind of average. Mm-hmm. And that's where they do your seeding. So, for example, I believe that there were multiple teams that had that 6-14 record. And but the average is what, you have your tiebreakers, but like Schrader beat us twice. And yet we finished above them. And I know that right down to that last game, Schrader played and beat Bishop Kearney, but they didn't accumulate the number of points.
Because BK is,
I think this year,
like B or B1 or whatever. And
I'm not going to get into that with the private parochials. That might be a podcast for another day, Mike, because that infuriates me that some of these schools can go where they want to. And I've got lots of friends at the various private schools. And but I just think that they should play in the class that their enrollment is, and we wouldn't lose kids to transferring to those schools. But that's a whole nother ball game. But I think Padilla's got the same thing, that 6-14 record, and Spencerport might have been close. So it's the average. You accumulate your points and then divide it by the number of games, and people, I think, might have a little bit better understanding of where that all lies in and the tiebreaker that can happen.
No, that's a very good explanation. It's one of the more thorough and clarifying ones that I've heard in a long time. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just ask you a quick question again. The Cadets, the last 6 games, are playing pretty good basketball. They're 4-2. It's a good time to be playing your best basketball. Maybe it's a result of knowing that 5 that you want to put on the court when, maybe playing with more confidence.
Can I add to that, Mike?
Use.
I think that there's so much that goes into it. One, it's a new voice, right? Even though Coach Espo's coached every one of those kids before, there's that feeling out period, that adjustment and strength of schedule. And he also installed a new offense. And, I know that people were like, geez, they're not scoring the ball. They're not scoring the ball. And it took them just a little while to get their footing. And some of it is, just improved skill, ball handling things, to then maybe improved belief, to understanding the nuances of the offense. And I think when you factor those things in, it does take a little while to get going. And I think they are, like I said, I think they're dangerous right now.
I would agree. And, I don't want to get too far ahead of my skis. If they were able to beat Padilla, which I'm a homer, I'm going to predict that they would face Irondequoit. Irondequoit plays a different schedule than the Cadets. So, yeah, we did play them once this year, correct?
Yeah. I think it was a very competitive game. Irondequoit's had a great season, and Kyle's an outstanding coach. He'll have them very well prepared. But the postseason, there's different pressures and different hungers, and like you said, 4-2 down the stretch. If they beat Padilla 5-2, and you start to feel things, the recipe is there for an upset if we can do that. But Padilla is going to pose a problem. I think the city. I think one of two things happens. They lay down, and, we get out to a good start and Padilla lays down, or the city teams can, and we felt it. We got upset in 2020 by Edison. We had the best player on the court, in Tajay Hill, but they frustrated us early, and then they started to believe it, and they smelled blood in the water. And, the city can put together a group of kids that when they smell blood in the water, they go for the kill. And, I think Padilla, there's a chance they could be that team too.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that better seeded team. If you could show them there's a fight, they might get a little tight. Not trying to be a little rhyming scheme.
I agree.
I want to talk to you a little bit about, because you've been doing some volunteerism for Paul Gotham, and explain a little bit about what you've been doing and what you got over there on your laptop.
So I talked to Paul about some different things, and I'm just grateful for the coverage he's given my teams and, my sons and different, and myself. He's just what a tremendous asset to our communities. And in talking to him, I said, listen, I'm bored. Can I help you with anything? And he asked if I'd be willing to do some data entry, kind of joking. And I said, no, I wouldn't have offered. And it also, so what I've done is he's given me some teams, and I've been able to put their points per game together for individual players and their team in AA1 and AA2. And we used to have that done for us as a county. And for whatever reason, whether it was guys just not submitting the scores to the person taking that information in, but it does help with scouting. Even though you're watching the film, you might only watch like the last 2 games when you're scouting somebody, and then your previous game. But you might have missed a guy going off for 20 something and you saw nothing. And then all of a sudden, if you're looking at this, you're like, oh, they average. And I can look down and see, well, they had double figures 5 games this year. And I never saw it in the 2 or 3 games I watched. So I think that can be pretty helpful. And I think it, helps Paul in just getting some people for picking splinters when he does his sectional preview as well, in the know a little bit.
Yeah, another shout out to Paul Gotham. He does do a tremendous job of highlighting high school athletes. If you go on his site, Pickin' Splinters, and you hit the high school tab, the next morning by 7 o'clock, you're getting great summaries of the game from before. You got great photographers getting great live action shots. Before we do hit some of the brackets and our version of bracketology, just to update you on last year, in the AAA bracket, Rush Henrietta won their title. AA1 was won by Penfield. AA2 was won by Greece Athena. Class A was won by Wayne. I think they beat East High in the finals. B1 was won by World of Inquiry. B2 was won by East Rochester. C1 by Alexander. C2 is York. C3 is Honeoye, and Class D is Fillmore. And, of course, the lower you go down in the alphabet is the lower populated schools you'll get. So it's still good basketball. And
oh, for sure. You find some guys that are excellent college players at some of these smaller schools. As a matter of fact, Mike, I believe maybe one of the best players in Section 5 is at a smaller school at Canisteo Greenwood named Carson Chafee. And I know that all the local D3 schools are after him. I haven't personally seen him play, but that name just keeps coming up and up and up. And another kid at Honeoye, Landon Washburn. So there's some kids at some smaller schools that can definitely play.
I remember watching, and last year I was watching the East and Wayne final, and I think it was Cam Blanken. Mm-hmm. Is it Blankenberg or Blankenship?
Blanken. Now you're getting me confused.
Let's go with Blankenberg.
Yeah.
He was like 6'6", but the guy could handle the ball. He could dunk. He could do everything. And they interviewed Barley, the coach for East. And the first thing he said is, somebody's got to get that kid a scholarship.
Yeah.
And I assume he did. I don't know.
He went to a prep school.
Okay.
And I'm going to assume he's going to land on his feet somewhere. He'll be a scholarship kid, whether it's, a mid-major or even Division II. People don't understand. I went to Hobart, Vassar Friday night. How good Division III basketball
100%.
It's so good, so physical, so well coached. And just because, and this is maybe a podcast too for another day, is we've got a lot of kids that have left for prep school. And I'm bitter. And I lost a kid to a prep school that is at Roberts Wesleyan now, and he went 2 years to a prep school, and I felt like he didn't need to play more basketball. I felt like if he got in the weight room and changed his body, his whole game would come together. And, I was the one, not his prep school, that ended up connecting him with a former player of mine, Mark Salagis, who's the coach at Roberts Wesleyan. And this guy landed there. And I just think that we have a lot of kids thinking it's Division I or bust, and love to open that up at some point. And I don't think I think people are being misled by some people. Like first of all, the only thing I'll say at this point is give your high school coach an opportunity. Because I'm going to guess, I'm going to go off on a limb. I'm going to guess that Jason Ellis at Penfield is going to have to field some of those questions with his
Correct.
3 studs.
Right.
And I hope that his 3 studs parents give him an opportunity to sell why staying at Penfield would be just as beneficial, if not more, than heading to a prep school. I just think that it's really important that you can go get your exposure at your AAU schedules. Go play all the high level stuff. I think that's awesome and really important. But I think you can have, for example, the really really good player I had in Tajay Hill. If he went to a prep school, he might have been like the 10th man.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, he got 20 to 25 shots a game for us and learned how to score better. And, his junior year, he averaged 31 points a game, and then the phone's blowing up. And, he was exploring things maybe a little too late to go to prep school. But the ability to lead your team, and he played for the City Rocks, and a lot of the AAU programs push prep school because they have connections, and it might not be the most. I know it's popular amongst high school coaches, and I do believe that prep school for certain kids is a necessity. Like Isaiah Stewart, there was nobody that could challenge him when he was at McQuaid, that size, and the path proved right. But it didn't. Jalen Pickett's in the NBA, and he didn't go to prep school. There's Anthony Lamb didn't go to prep school. So for everybody that thinks that's what they have to do, you have to consider the source that's telling you that. Is it a guy that's getting paid to get kids to prep school because he's a conduit? Well, then he's reaping the benefit. So, his opinion is tainted a little bit, as is mine, right? Because we don't want to lose our players, but I also feel like we can develop them. So that might be a whole nother conversation, Mike, but I'm passionate about it.
I did write it, and a couple of things that I want, and then I'll ask another question. You talked about Division III and the talent that's there. When I was a freshman at Geneseo, it was back in 87, 88, and I was a manager there for the basketball team. By the way, I got paid $150 for like 4.5 months of work. It wasn't about that. It was about being in the know. And we had every local talent from the Rochester area. We had Mark Muller. We had Sean Gray. We had Jamie Palmer from York. A couple kids out of Long Island. We got another kid, Ricky Taylor, out of Long Island. It was
Jim Clare was
Jimmy
all right.
Clare. How did I forget? And then the seasons that followed, you got Scott Fitch, and who ended up being an All-American and stuff.
Yeah. Tuddy, who introduced my wife and I.
The Tudmans. I mean, that one year when they had the Tudmans and Fitch and Danny White, I think, and a bunch of others. I mean, they had the makings of a national championship team. Didn't come to fruition, but don't sneeze at Division III. And another comment I do want to make on prep school from the girls' side is when my daughter was going through high school, there's a couple great players from Bishop Kearney. Maya Jackson, she went to a prep school, and Nia Rowe, and they did land with Division I scholarships, I'm not going to lie, but their high school kind of came down in flavor, where you had Asia Wilson, who stayed, and Kevin Good's daughter stayed, and they ended up with scholarships. And then even from Victor, Rylan Fehrenbach, excellent player. She went to a prep school, and what it really does to their high school, it takes them from here to here. And this is my 2 cents. The boys are going to be playing Padilla on Wednesday at 7:00 at Hilton. Describe to me a little bit about what happens on sectional night. Like the kids aren't allowed on the floor until a certain time and things like that.
Yeah, you can do a shoot around earlier in the day, but you are not allowed like on the court within 30 minutes of the tip. So if you do your shoot around, multiple hours in front of it, that's allowed. And it's a lot of nervous energy, and you try to figure out what, that's the job of the coach, is kind of keeping it light yet intense. And making sure everybody knows their assignments, but not, overanalyze. Like, you got to understand what kid is going to really digest it. And I think when we've had our great sectional runs, I've had great leadership step up, and they have owned the scouting. They have owned the preparation and they had their teammates focused rather than me trying to emphasize it. And guys like Brian Duffy was tremendous at doing that. Jake Coleman, and Noah Malta got guys focused when we had to. Joey Hutton, all basically my point guards. When they got it going, and Johnny Bianchi and my three musketeers, Johnny and Timmy Graz and Brady Gehrig and Ben Snedden, focused his tail off too. And the guy I didn't mention, Andrew Lenhard, is probably the smartest out of all of them. So
drew the most charges in the program.
And he didn't say a word, like, the expression, wouldn't say whatever if he had a mouthful, but he was brilliant and just looked at it, got it, never had to show him a thing a second time. He just knew where to go, what to do. So when you get that buy-in from that senior leadership, and then it translates to that day, in that time frame when you're getting ready for the game, if you have that leadership, and it doesn't have to be from a senior, but the best teams have been the best led teams, and it's player led. If it's the coach having to constantly bark, eventually they tune you out. And so for all you young kids out there, the sooner you buy in and take charge of your team, the better off you're going to be.
I like it how you talked about the best teams or the best led teams that can lead on the court. And by the way, I've truly missed your whistle from the side. I don't know how you developed that, but
yeah, at the playground,
it was legendary. What do you got on your phone? I saw you pulled up some stats on the phone.
Yeah, I have on my phone and my computer, I have AA1 and AA2s, each team's and each player's points in each game. We know what the team averaged per game. And usually Paul goes a step further and figures out, what they gave up per game. He's going to publish this, I believe, in the next couple days. And it gives everybody, he'll probably only highlight top, 3 scorers or whoever's in double figures. But you could see, like I said earlier, is there somebody that snuck a game in the high teens or even 20s that you didn't know was capable of going off? And I think that, in my downtime next year, maybe I'll start that off from the get-go and include all the county coaches where they'll have access to me or this document and can input some stuff. So I think it's a little bit of busy work, but I think it can help people, get a pretty good idea.
So who is the leading scorer right now, average-wise, either in AA1 or AA2?
Oh, that's a good question. Let's see.
Because I've seen a lot of the boys' games. I know Penfield has a bunch of scores, but some of the smaller schools I don't. Like I was watching Iowa State and BYU. Like BYU has the second leading scorer in the country, and I never even heard of him.
Oh, EJ?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's getting like $6 million or $8 million a year.
NIL? Okay,
yeah.
so that seems how connected I've been to the college game. Another thing I'll say is you get that set up. The women's hockey team, congratulations to them. They do have a player on their team named Taylor Heise. They pronounce it Heise. She's number 27. And
Iowa State has a player too, don't they?
That's her brother.
Oh.
So she has 2 younger brothers that also play basketball in college, and her parents were college athletes. I don't know why I'm going on this tangent. Apparently there's no relation, but Taylor Heise, I think she changed her name because she didn't want to be related to the Heises. But yeah, she went to the University of Minnesota and has had a professional career so far. So shout out to her and the girls team. Right now, the men's team, well, it's probably over by now, but they were tied at 1 after 2 periods. So
Yeah, we'll get that update.
you go with your stuff.
Yeah. So looking at like AA1, in Penfield being the lead dogs here, they got 3 guys that are right around 16, 17 points a game between Jackson Green, CJ Johnson, and Jake McCarthy. They're their big 3.
Oh, they can dunk too.
Yeah, they're special. We prepared for them last year, and I had the first time that whole scouting thing that I talked about. CJ Johnson was new to us, and they had one of their guards out with an injury, so he started, and he had like 18 on us in the first half. I'm like, where did this come from? And he was electric, just a dynamic guard, but he's now like 6'5", jumps out of the gym. I think he's their most well-rounded player. But in high school basketball, like if you have a terrific guard, and I would say CJ is more like right now a 3, probably projects as a 2 at the college level. But you can win with either electric guards or a big that makes a difference. And Jake McCarthy makes a difference because he's just so darn big and athletic. And he's now stepping out and hitting 3s. So I would say that, Penfield, as I stated earlier, is probably the team to beat. But there's some other teams in the bracket. Rondequoit, I have not seen them yet this year, but I know we played them last year. I've seen these kids. We've run a modified and freshman summer league at Hilton, so I've seen them all since they were in 7th and 8th grade. And Kyle does an amazing job. I think the Maldonado kid is probably their leading scorer. And they're gonna get in gaps and really defend, and they're gonna execute their stuff. So I think that and they'll mix in a little 1-2-2 3/4 court. Victor, is scoring by committee. They've got a kid, RJ Johnson, who's probably their best offense player, who, by the way, learned basketball from his elementary PE teacher, yours truly. He was in Greece. But RJ, can score it a little bit, but their style of play is conducive to playing lots of kids and shooting lots of 3s and picking up full court. So anybody, the Cheatree kid is pretty quick. Tyler has got big game experience, has had a successful sectional state championship team. I mean, the guy is a tremendous coach and a really good guy. So, and that's one thing, Mike, on a little side tangent is I think there was a period of time many, many years ago where you might have been able to get over in a certain game here or there without your best preparation. And I don't think that's the case. I think we have some excellent coaches everywhere that do their homework and scout, and it's really impressive. So I think Victor is going to be, a challenge, and I know that they've given, towards the end of the year, Fairport and Penfield, who had been pretty dominant, had some closer contests. So I think the teams figure them out a little bit more. They might have taken their foot off the gas. They might have had some injuries. I know Fairport was not super healthy towards the end of the year, but the postseason can do some funny things.
And if I do want to take a look at the AA2 bracket here too as well.
Uh-huh.
And that number 1 seed is Pittsford Mendon. And then you go down to the 2 and 3, which are Sutherland's at 2, Athena's at 3. They're the defending champ, and then 4 is Gates Chili. Talk a little bit about what you do know about AA2.
So I know quite a bit about the top seeds because I've seen them with doing the score clock and shot clock in Greece. And I know Mendon just overtook Sutherland to become the 1 seed. Sutherland was kind of undefeated the whole year. And it used to be the Nally brothers coaching against each other, but Derek Kemp took over for John Nally, and Derek I've been really impressed with at Sutherland. I've been right next to their bench, and he's cool, calm, collected. He's a Chris Carden disciple. And his demeanor, his X's and O's, as a 2 seed, I think you flip a coin between them and Mendon for sure. But Jackson Birch is probably, and Sam Burns are their top 2 guys. Jackson's like a 6'7", big, who can also step out and shoot the 3. I thought I had heard he maybe committed to the U of R. And Sutherland hasn't been real healthy lately either. I think they were missing a starter for a while, but they've got, like I said, Sam Burns at near like 15 points a game. And looks like Zach Nieder is near close to 10 points a game. Ethan Wachters at like 7.5. Tyler Allen puts it in. I've seen games where, like, I'm looking at Chase Dermody. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 games in double figures. I mean, they've got lots of different answers. They move the ball really well. They're disciplined. I think they've got some size. Where Mendon, Mendon, they've got a couple of guys. One, Josh Shatters, he's had a better year than I even anticipated. He's only had 2 games where he wasn't in double figures, averaging 18 a game. He's about a 6'2" post player. Really strong, good-looking athlete, and he's an impressive kid. He can step outside a little bit, but does most of his damage kind of inside. And he's got, Bobby runs some great stuff at Mendon. Trevor Nally is a great shooter. He broke our back at Hilton or at Mendon, hitting a 3 to beat us. And then Mari Coleman certainly capable of filling it up. And Coach Espo's nephew, Carmen Esposito, is averaging 9 points a game, but numerous games in double figures. And they're disciplined. They run a 4 out with a high post where it's been their system, and they know what how to be most effective offensively in it. And they're very physical for being a team that's not overly passing the eye test. So they're super solid. Athena and Gates, I've seen both. Athena, I think, goes as Russell Ellis goes, who, by the way, is another English Village Elementary PE student of mine. Russ is terrific. What a calm demeanor and a consummate point guard who can also fill it up when needed. Takes over when and settles his team. And Mike Setzer, Coach Setzer's got big game experience as well and a sectional championship under his belt. So, they've got some confidence, and they've got really good complementary players. I want to say the kids. I don't want to mispronounce. Poth, I think, is his last name.
Is that the kid from Gates?
No, from Athena.
Oh, okay.
I'll talk about Gates in a
I
second.
know you're talking about.
Cole Poth,
yeah.
Caleb Brown, jumps out of the gym, and he's been shooting it really well from 3. I saw him really light up. He's averaging 13.5 points a game. Cole's averaging 10. A Waterman kid really is just a role player, a glue guy, hustles. they got some other guys, Shabazz Barnes, Ethan Gorman, who can do some things. C.J. Webb comes off the bench and shoots. He's a zone buster. Some other kids play some great defense. So Athena's tough. And then, Gates, I think, has a couple of different pieces. Joey Vigurzi is probably their go-to with 17 points a game. And what has been impressive about Joey to me is seeing him when he came in as a freshman. I'm looking here, he's had 2 games where he was not in double figures. He's averaging like 17 a game. But Joey has changed his body to me. He is more than just a catch-and-shoot guy. He kind of can bully some guards. Tremere Lewis, longer, athletic. Nemo Pye. They got some athleticism. They've had a solid season. They score the ball pretty well. They can pressure you. They got, and Joey's got experience and confidence. And when you feel like it's your turn, I think that the rest of the team can feed off of that. So I think Gates is heading for a rebound. Is it enough this year? I don't know. That's what, I think AA2 is fairly wide open. I'm not sure. I've seen Arcadia. Drake Sapp is terrific. And another English Village Elementary.
I'm seeing a thread.
Yeah, we get him playing basketball early at EV. But he doesn't have, I think, enough with him. I haven't seen Eastridge or Wilson or Brockport. I've seen Canandaigua, and they're going to struggle to score it. Virtus I haven't seen, but I think your top 4. I don't think there's an upset in there. I would venture to guess that the top 4 will make it to the semis.
Okay. And that being Mendon, Gates.
Mendon, Sutherland, Gates, Athena.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I think looking where it lies, Mendon, I think maybe has an easier road, but I don't know.
Well, that's what you get for a number 1 seed.
Yeah.
It should be that way, right?
Yep.
All right. I do want to, before we end, is to go up to our AAA compadres and just talk about them a little bit.
Sure.
Okay, here we go. And like you said, there's not too many large schools, and I think there ends up being a total of 6.
That's the girls.
Oh, that's the girls. So forget what I said. And I'm going to stop sharing that. So, Troy, start talking about that.
I think that you've got Fairport, I believe, is your 1 seed. And then we have McQuaid and Rush and UPrep. So out of those remaining 3, I would guess that UPrep, and I don't know where they fall seed-wise, but UPrep would be maybe the most dangerous. I have seen UPrep play this year. I've been bounced out of the sectionals twice by them in the past. When those kids, UPrep, turn up their defense to another level, and what I mean by that is they increase the ball pressure, and sometimes when that happens, you don't get any help. And I would expect that Fairport, and I know Fairport played them last week. I want to say they played them a week ago tomorrow. And they, I think Fairport handled them. But, I've seen McQuaid play, and McQuaid is, they'll have their hands full. They're not McQuaid of yesteryear. They don't have size, but I think they've got, they'd be a pretty competitive team in the county. They got a dynamic freshman guard who I think is going to be really good down the road. They got some youth, another a Hilton kid, Christopher Leosi, I saw coming off the bench. Christopher can shoot it. There's some decent pieces being built over there. But I just think that UPrep will probably handle Rush on the other side of the bracket. I just don't see Fairport with Fairport's style of play is a credit to Coach Fitch, where their defensive intensity, they prey on your indecisiveness handling the ball, and then they'll run and jump. And what they do is rotate so early, and they make you read the correct kick. And I'll give Hilton credit watching it. Like, Jeff must have gone through and prepared them for that, where you think it's like the next pass. And if you get out of control, one, they're going to draw a charge on you, but they really swarm to the ball and to the help. And you've got to kick opposite and then sometimes make one more. And then you got to knock down the shot. So you're asking a lot of high school kids to put those three pieces together. And, they've got, I think they only have like one basketball first kid, but one, they have athleticism and size and experience, but multi-sport kids, two baseball players, a volleyball player, an All-American soccer player. They're winners, and winning breeds winning. And then he's got some depth and kids that come off the bench. So, and let's not forget, and this is a plug for my buddy, not because he's my buddy, but I think early on Scott Fitch got a lot of credit for being this great coach because he was, an unbelievable player. The reality is he's a great coach because he's a great coach. Mm-hmm. Like, not because he was a good player. Like, there's a lot of good players that can't coach anything, and a lot of guys that were horrific players that are great coaches. Scott happens to be both. Some guys get it all, don't they, Mike?
Yeah, exactly.
He really, and I'm looking forward to going to practice and seeing the magic that he does over there. And I just think that they'll walk through AAA, and I think Penfield's probably going to do the same. Hope not. I hope that there's some more competitive games for both of them, but that's what I see.
Okay, this leads me to my last question. What's the recipe for an upset? That's why people love March. They love the March Madness. What's the recipe for high school upsets?
High school upsets are a lot, I think, more difficult than when we watch March Madness on TV at the college level, because the college level, you're sometimes getting a mid-major that is old, where guys haven't left, and you have some terrific coaches, and they have some size and some capabilities. Where at the high school level, one, the teams that are number one in their brackets, well, ironically, if you look at Fairport has a 6'5" big guy, and Penfield has three guys that size or bigger in AA1, and Sutherland's got a 6'7" guy. At the high school level, that size is a difference maker, and not every team has it, so it can eliminate those upsets. If you can level that playing field, then you start talking about, do you have winners, multiple sport kids that have won it in another sport? Do you have a dynamic point guard who, like, I think that if any team, and I think this is probably going further down the road for Fairport, if any team has a dynamic point guard in the States, it'll be interesting if they can handle a Fairport, because then they won't panic and dribble into their double teams, and it's hard to put the pressure on them, because Fairport, their offense is your offense, and when they turn you over, it turns into fast break layups. So that point guard could eliminate that. So if you negate that, and you're talking like a like, I think AA2, I don't see AA1 having a major upset unless a Hilton gets an Irondequoit, or somebody gets Victor, which is possible. I do believe that. I think it's going to be a great game plan. Sometimes you got to cut the team that can maybe negate the other team's best player, and forces somebody else to step up. And if they aren't capable of doing it that particular day, that can happen. And I think sometimes, like a senior that steps up is usually a pretty good recipe for an upset. Um, and at the end of the day, I don't know where the tournament falls in terms of Blue Cross Arena, because that can play, a big part in team shooting if it's just the finals. I think it might be just the finals this year.
I believe it is.
Yeah. So I think that if a good shooting team that relies a lot on the three ball has to go to the big house and play, that can pose a problem.
Yeah, that looks like there's AA1, and the semis are going to be at Fairport, and then the finals are at Blue Cross Arena.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you might be AA1. You said is at Fairport.
yeah, they're semis, and then I did think I saw that one of them might be the semis might be at Webster Schrader. Let me check that for the AA2. Yeah, AA2's at Schrader, and then again on March 7th is the finals. So those big high schools are going to get those games.
Yeah, and they both have some space behind their baskets, which that depth perception, can play havoc for teams for sure. But I think you need a solid point guard. And we used to say, cut the head of the snake off. And if you can take that point guard away, you can create some problems and get those other multi-sport kids that step up and just say, stay together. When things get difficult, because teams go on runs, it's the teams with great player leadership, that, and those have been the most enjoyable teams to coach. When you get that kid, like I know your daughter had it. She used to come to my stuff. She's a leader. When you get those kids, the other kids want to follow them, and they then believe. So I think that's a great recipe.
Great answer and great perspective. And I do recall whenever I watch March Madness, and I know this is the college game, Jay Billis, he always said he looks at teams to win it all. He says they got to have at least two guys that are going to be pros, and that's one of his recipes. And then Kenny Smith is like kind of what you said. They got to have great guards.
Yeah.
So they kind of piggyback off of what you said. Before we wrap up, I do want to wish good luck to the girls sectional play. They start on Friday at 7:00. They are seeded third, and they're going to play Wilson/Early College. And with that victory, if they were able to move on, they would possibly play number 2 seed Webster Schrader. So we do wish them luck. Any results of the Olympic hockey, Troy?
I don't have anything, Mike.
Okay. He's going to look at his phone. But yeah, this has been a great time in getting Troy's perspective and outlook on the upcoming sectionals. Our hockey team won 4-3 in double overtime against Portside, so they're moving on to the semifinals. We wish Coach Monfiletto and his team good luck. Our wrestlers are
Mike,
in actions.
We're gold medalists, 2-1.
Ooh, men and women's win gold. What was the final score?
2-1.
2-1. Well, was it in regulation or did they?
Looks like it. Yeah.
Well, I did see on the news this morning that Governor Hochul, she allowed the bars to be open at 7:00 this morning, so people could partake in the adult beverages, getting prepared for the 8:00, 8:10.
It says overtime, Mike.
Okay, so an overtime win. So that's the first victory since the Miracle
46 years, I think.
1980.
I did, by the way, take my Penfield team back in 2003 to see Miracle when it came out. And I believe
Raise the Roof.
We only won 2 games that year, but I believe it helped us get one of those wins over Mendon.
You see, and I think that's where you're talking about leadership. Kids need to see true stories of true leadership. You got your Rudy, you got the Miracle on Ice, like these true stories that you too can be an upset.
Yeah.
And we do hope that the Hilton Cadet basketball team wins that first game and then takes that confidence going in against Irondequoit. And Troy, anything else you want to add?
No, I love coming on, Mike, and appreciate you having me. And I can talk Section 5 basketball, the higher brackets, because that's what I'm familiar with, till I'm blue in the face. And look forward to this is my way to stay in touch with the game. So thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming, and you're sporting your Big H podcast merch. And we mean no disrespect to those lower classifications. We also wish you very good luck sometimes watching those games. I'm going to give a special shout out to my Kendall brethren. I got a colleague that boys play for Kendall. I wish them well. Troy, thank you for joining me on this breakdown of basketball in this episode of Bracketology. If you like what you saw, hit the like button, that thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. You can tune in to me on X, Spotify, Rumble, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts at the Big H Podcast. Troy, been a pleasure.
Thanks, Mike. Always a pleasure.
The Big H Podcast, tune in now. Conversations that'll wow. Laugh and learn, stay a while. Let's explore that Hilton style. From the highs to the lows, every story just explodes. Mike's got questions on the go, diving deep from head to toe. Every week the guests align, sharing moments so divine. Stay with us, the pace is fine. Every episode you'll find